Welcome back. This is going to be a very packed episode, so I'll skip the usual intro and just start this recap. And we kick things off with Epic's pretty embarrassing AI Darth Vader in Fortnite. Now, the idea of it is actually pretty fun. You can invite Darth Vader as an AI buddy into your squad and use proximity chat to actually talk to him. And he would respond intelligently and natural sounding. Hell, he'd even serenade you if that's something you really wanted him to do. Anyway, AI and the internet in general, however, aren't the best combination, as has been proven way too many times before. And this time was no different, because it took less than an hour for Darth Vader to start insulting players and even getting pretty racist.
That will sustain me in battle.
What freaking fucking food is that, Darth Vader?
Oh my
Tell
God,
me.
Double down.
Freaking fucking.
Wow!
Such vulgarity does not become
That is
you.
not
Padme.
allowed.
You inquire about
Oh
sustenance.
my God! No!
And
Oh
yet
my
speak
God!
like a common thug.
Oh my-
It is.
I made him swear.
I did try finding some more clips, but they're pretty much all either censored or laden with annoying sound effects, and well, I didn't want to inflict any of those on you at all. Now, because of this, Epic had to send out an emergency patch to make sure Vader wouldn't insult players anymore. Now, he is still available in the game though, but the problems for Epic didn't stop there, because the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, better known as SAG-AFTRA, launched an unfair labor practice complaint with the National Labor Relations Board against Epic Games. The complaint alleges that over the last 6 months, Llama Productions, which is owned by Epic Games, has failed to bargain in good faith with SAG-AFTRA's video game actors and has made, and I quote here, unilateral changes to the terms and conditions of employment without providing notice to the union or the opportunity to bargain, by utilizing AI-generated voices to replace bargaining unit work on Fortnite. It's not just the use of James Earl Jones's voice that is the major issue here. It's the use of AI voices at all by Epic Games that presents a major issue for SAG-AFTRA, especially given its efforts to come to an agreement on a contract for its video game performance over the last year. The whole issue of AI is one of the biggest reasons for the video game voice actors union strike that started about 10 months ago. In a statement by SAG-AFTRA explaining their unfair labor practices complaint against Epic, they are claiming that Epic is actively undermining the work of human SAG-AFTRA members who previously or could potentially do work of matching Darth Vader's voice with their own performance. With a charge filed, the next step will be a review by the National Labor Relations Board, potentially followed by an investigation and hearing if the agency believes the charge has merit. Either way, these kinds of cases take months or sometimes even years to progress, and even then there is a big chance we'll never hear how the board has ruled, because many of these cases are settled behind closed doors. And if you think Epic has had a rough week, remember, things can always be worse. Just ask Bungie, who have been caught stealing a healthy portion of their marathon artwork. The issue came to light last week when Anti-Real took to X to write, "The Marathon Alpha released recently and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. They added that Bungie is of course not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution." Bungie responded via its less visible Marathon Dev Team X account that it has immediately investigated Anti-Real's claims and found that yes, a former artist at the company had included these assets in an asset sheet, and that asset sheet was ultimately used in-game. They went on to add the issue was unknown to their existing art team and that they are still investigating how this, and I quote, oversight occurred. Bungie continued with, "We take matters like this very seriously. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission and do not endorse plagiarism." Now, that all sounds well and good, but this isn't the first time Bungie's got caught using artwork without permission. This is the 4th time the company has been caught. Last September, Bungie used fan-made art that was made way back in 2015 in the design for an upcoming Destiny 2 Nerf pistol. Bungie did end up paying the artist that goes by the name of Tofu Rabbit. In 2023, Bungie had, and I quote here again, mistakenly used artwork in a Destiny 2 cutscene. And in 2021, they used fan art in a trailer for the upcoming Destiny 2 The Witch Queen expansion. So sure, these things can happen, but 4 times, that can't be an accident, right? Now, what this means for Marathon isn't clear right now, as the game's first technical tests didn't go too well for Bungie. It didn't get too many players to keep playing, as many who played it seem to agree that the game is missing a true hook to come back to. But the one thing everyone did seem to agree on was the original looking artwork, but now even that is pulled into question. Remember Embracer Group, that company that seemingly bought up every single game developer around the world before shutting them down? Well, they just announced they are spinning off their indie-focused label Coffee Stain as an individually listed company by the end of the year. And with it, they are parting with around 250 game developers and publishers. Coffee Stain will now be responsible for all those studios, including Coffee Stain Studios itself, that is most known for developing the Goat Simulator games and Satisfactory. They also manage Ghost Ship Games that made Deep Rock Galactic, and Tuxedo Lab, the studio behind Teardown. Coffee Stain also published Valheim, by the way. Coffee Stain's CEO and co-founder Anton Westberg said in a statement that they're really proud of everything they've built as a part of Embracer, and they can now focus even more on what they do best: supporting their developers, staying close to their communities, and building an even brighter future for Coffee Stain. Embracer also announced that it is changing the name of Middle-earth and Friends to Fellowship Entertainment. That label is still in charge for around 40 AAA names such as Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Warhorse Studios, 4A Games, and obviously J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Switching gears a bit now, as PlayStation has just announced it is killing its rewards program PlayStation Stars. The service will be taken offline in November 2026, but as of now it is no longer accepting new members. Stars members can still earn points until the 23rd of July. After that date there will be no more new PlayStation Stars campaigns available or any additional rewards or status benefits to earn. You'll still be able to redeem previously earned points until the 2nd of November 2026, at least if they haven't expired by then, because they are only valid for a year to begin with. As to why PlayStation is killing off the program, there wasn't really a reason given, except that they have decided to refocus their efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. However, they have given no indication at all as to what a next version of PlayStation Stars would look like, or even if there is a new version planned at all. Sticking with PlayStation for a tiny bit longer, as Naughty Dog studio head Neil Druckmann has confirmed that the studio is working on a second game. He did that during an interview on the Press X to Continue podcast. There he explained that alongside Intergalactic, where he is serving as a writer and creative director, there is another game that's being worked on at Naughty Dog, where he has more of a producer kind of role. No details of what kind of game it is so far. Switching over to CD Projekt Red now, as they have started the slow drip feed of information about their upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. Mike Pondsmith, the creator of the Cyberpunk franchise, has appeared at Digital Dragons 2025, where he has indicated that he won't be heavily involved in the Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. But he has been shown the script of the upcoming game and been explained in a conversation with one of the environments guys that players will have the ability to visit another city that feels like Chicago gone wrong, but also that Night City will still be there. So 2 cities in the next Cyberpunk game. I'm all for it, sign me up please. Now, the next part isn't really news, but I didn't want you to have missed this classic Randy Pitchford moment. Pitchford is, as you probably know, the CEO of Gearbox Software and the guy that isn't a stranger to controversy. This week he replied to a fan's concerned tweet about the price of the upcoming Borderlands 4 game, asking if it would not cost $80. Randy's reply started off pretty good. Well, kind of. He said that he, even as CEO, has no input on the price of the game. Which is fair, as Take-Two, the actual publisher of the game, is most likely setting the price point. And that is where Pitchford should have left it. But in classic Randy fashion, he plowed on and added this gem. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Before spinning a tale of him when he was young back in 1991. He also managed to buy an $80 game while working a minimum wage job at the time. Now, I'm not gonna say he's a bit out of touch, but yeah, he's a bit out of touch. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that Borderlands 4 will cost $80. We'll find out the pricing sometime before its release on the 12th of September. Now let's take a look at the games that released this week, and I've got to say it's been a pretty packed week with mainly smaller indie titles. First up is Cathy Rain 2 Soothsayer, a classic point-and-click adventure game where you are hired to hunt down the notorious serial killer known as the Soothsayer. It currently sits at a strong 83 on OpenCritic, where reviewers are loving the excellent puzzles and more grounded story compared to its predecessor. On Steam, things are looking even better as it sits at a very positive 95%. However, there are so far only 121 reviews, so take that score with a pinch of salt. Cathy Rain 2 Soothsayer is now available on PC only. Next up is RoadCraft, arguably the biggest release of the week, and critics seem to love it as it currently sits at a strong 83 on OpenCritic. Push Square gave it an 8, saying that RoadCraft takes the intricate off-road fun of Mudrunner and SnowRunner and melds it with involving micromanagement and building aspects, resulting in a fantastic experience that is the devs' best vehicle sim to date. Steam users are a bit less enthused with this, as it currently sits at a mostly positive 71, where most of the hardcore simulators are disappointed at the lack of damage or fuel systems, and that it all feels a bit too casual. RoadCraft is out now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and X, and PC. Monster Train 2 is the deck-building roguelite where it is up to you to command an alliance between former angels and demons to fight titans who have taken control of heaven and defeat them before they destroy the world. Critics are loving this one because it currently sits at a mighty 87 on OpenCritic, where IGN gave it a 9, saying it is a fantastic upgrade for what was already one of the best deck-building roguelites out there. With so many interesting variables and options to make replays interesting that it actually feels bottomless. And Steam players, well, they are wholeheartedly agreeing with this, as Monster Train 2 sits at a overwhelmingly positive 95. Monster Train 2 is out now on PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series X and X, where it is a Day 1 addition to Game Pass. Up next is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. It is a turn-based tactical beat-em-up from the studio that brought us the extremely weird click-holding and the very stylish FPS I Am Your Beast. This time they're tackling the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in an age after both Shredder and Splinter have died and the Turtles are approaching adulthood, which is causing them to drift apart. Now the game has gotten mainly positive reviews as it sits at a strong 77 on OpenCritic. GameRant gave it a 9, saying Tactical Takedown is a short but very sweet turn-based tactics experience that makes the most of its iconic license. IGN was a bit less enthused, giving it a 7. They thought the game was fun but felt a bit bare bones. On Steam, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown currently sits at a positive 96, but it only has 25 reviews at the time of writing, so take this score also with a pinch of salt. If you're more in the mood for a Souls-like action-adventure game, maybe give Blades of Fire a look. Critics, they are a bit mixed on this one, as is reflected by its fair 72 on OpenCritic. GamesRadar Plus gave it a 4 out of 5, praising its fantastic combat systems and weapons customization systems that make you want to try out every weapon variation available. IGN, however, was less impressed and called its combat systems overly simplistic and not sharp enough to put the customizable weapons to good use. They gave it a 5 out of 10. No Steam reviews for this one, as it is an Epic Game Store exclusive on PC. Blades of Fire is also available on PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. Next up is Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping, and it is a point-and-click inspired adventure game where you play as, well, Duck Detective. This small 2 to 3 hour long indie game is very well received by critics, as it currently sits at a strong 81 on Metacritic, where they are praising its short and sweet story, charming animation style and humor. A sentiment shared with Steam users, as the game has a very positive 98. Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping is now available on all major platforms. Out of Sight is best described as a first-person Little Nightmares where you play as a blind girl seeing through the eyes of her teddy bear while she tries to escape from her captors. Players on Steam seem to love this one, as it currently sits at a very positive 98% with 100 reviews, while critics are a lot less enthusiastic about it, resulting in a weak 65 on OpenCritic. GameRant gave it a 6, saying that Out of Sight is a unique puzzle horror game with a clever idea, but there simply isn't enough to give it a full recommendation. Checkpoint Gaming gave it a 5, saying they were never excited by its predictable story nor its repetitive and bland gameplay. Out of Sight is now available on PC only. And lastly, there is Deliver at All Costs, an action driving game that drew some inspiration from Crazy Taxi and Teardown. In it, you play as a down-on-his-luck courier as he delivers highly unusual cargo, leaving a trail of havoc and chaos behind him. The game currently sits at a fair 74 on OpenCritic, with IGN giving it a 6, saying Deliver at All Costs features some uniquely fun deliveries and a satisfyingly smashable set of cities, but its slapdash story and limited tools for vehicular destruction mean it's one shipment far from a complete package. GameSpot gave it an even less favorable 5, as they believe the explosive and silly fun doesn't help you quickly growing tired of its writing and its gameplay. On Steam, Deliver at All Costs sit at a mostly positive 74. Now, if you're not sure about this one, but you still want to try it out, I actually have some good news, because the Epic Game Store is giving it away for free this week as part of its weekly giveaway. So, what got announced and or delayed this week? Well, Microsoft has announced that Senua Saga Hellblade 2 is coming to PlayStation 5 this summer. The game will receive enhanced features to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro's extra horsepower. What those features will be has not been announced yet. Microsoft also hasn't given an exact release date. Warhammer 40k Space Marine Mastercrafted Edition is a remastered edition of the first Space Marine game and boasts modernized controls, an interface overhaul, 4K resolution support, improved character models, and remastered audio that contains over 100 new voice lines for the orcs. This definitive edition will come to Xbox Series consoles and PC through Steam, the Epic Games Store, and Microsoft Store on June 10th. It will also be a day one inclusion on Game Pass. Urban Games has announced that they have been working on Transport Fever 3 for the past 5 years and are planning to release it on PC and console sometime in 2026. They have not yet gone into detail as to what is going to be new in the next game in the series, other than the addition of building offshore industries and the inclusion of better tutorials. CopyCat is a narrative-driven adventure game where you get to play as a newly adopted shelter cat whose space in the home has been taken by an intruding copycat. The game released last year on PC to stellar critic and player sentiment and will come to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and Nintendo Switch on the 29th of May. But I have to warn you about this one because you will need some tissues. I've been told that this game hits you right in the feels. And last week I told you about the Riders Republic movie that's going to be made, but this week Bandai Namco and A24 have announced that they will be making a live-action adaptation of Elden Ring. The movie will be directed by Alex Garland, who recently wrote and directed Warfare and Civil War. No delays this week, at least not as far as I have seen. But there was one huge cancellation, because Activision has cancelled Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. It was supposed to compete with PUBG and Fortnite on mobile, but it never really pulled in enough players to satisfy Activision, so they're binning it. If you have the game installed on your phone, you can still play it, but if you haven't, you're out of luck as Warzone Mobile has been delisted from all mobile stores. Sort of free games time now, and there are quite a few to add to your digital libraries this week as we got a fresh batch of Game Pass games. And as the show is already long enough, I'll go over them real fast. Starting with Monster Train 2, which we covered in the episode a little earlier. Next to that, players get Creatures of Ava, Stalkers 2, Tales of Kenzera Zhao. Next week you'll get to download Tom Clancy's The Division 2, to a T, which is another Day 1 addition to the service, and in that one you'll get to play as a teenage navigating life while their body is permanently stuck in a T-pose. You'll also be able to download the excellent turn-based RPG Metamorph ReFantazio and another Day 1 Game Pass inclusion, Spray Paint Simulator, where you guessed it, you spray paint to paint rooms, cars, houses and even giant robots. Amazon also added a few games to their giveaway list over on Amazon Prime Gaming. Uncle Bezos is giving away a Lost Legacy game key for the Lost Ashford Ring, a GOG code for Blood Omen 2 Legacy of Kain, a key for Everdream Valley through Amazon's own gaming service, and an Epic Games key for Chesarama. Oh, and to round things off, GOG keys for both Thief 2, The Metal Age, and Fate. The Epic Games Store once again really doesn't disappoint with their 3 mystery games because they are giving away Deliver at All Costs, which we covered during our review roundup. Epic is also giving away the side-scrolling, retro-inspired kaiju game Gigapocalypse and the multiple Game of the Year award nominee Kung Fu game Sifu. All 3 of those games will be replaced this Thursday with 2 new mystery games, so get them while they're hot. Oh man, this was a long one, but we made it. And if you made it all the way to the end, well, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode, so if you did, I'd be extremely honored if you could hit that thumbs up button. If you loved it, maybe hit that subscribe button, and if you hated it, please let me know why in the comments below. I sincerely hope you have an awesome week, and I'll see you here again next Sunday.